Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Katie Widrick, and I am the Community Manager of the Predictable Success Leadership Center. And today I am absolutely thrilled to talk with you about a topic that is really near and dear to my heart because it's a question that I often ask myself. And we'll get into my personal experience through this question: are you a leadership rule breaker? But if you are new to the Predictable Success Leadership Center, if you are new to Predictable Success overall, I wanted to thank you so much for just spending a few minutes of your time with me. And if you are here, I know at least a few things about you. Number one, you are interested in growing in terms of your leadership. I don't care if you are the senior most executive or if you are just getting started in your career, everyone can lead. Yes, that means you. So you're in the right place for some great conversation and a little bit of provocative questioning about how we can all step into leadership in new ways, despite where we are in our career path and even what role we have inside an organization. And so over the last few weeks and going into the next few weeks, our community inside of the Predictable Success Leadership Center is really centered around a deep dive into topics, not just in terms of leadership. That's a pretty broad topic, but we are really working together to update our definitions and understandings of what this term leadership even means, especially in the modern marketplace. We're also working to identify and look into examples of leadership in action, in everyday action. And that's been a really fun and interesting part of this experience. Together, we are also working to set weekly, monthly, quarterly, and even annual goals, both for professional and personal development. And as I share this, you know that we are closing in on Q3 of 2022. We are entering Q4, which is always a really exciting time to be in business. If you are catching this on the replay, please know that even though I'm referring to certain times of the year and of the calendar, what we're talking about in today's training, it applies any time of year. And again, I want you to really look at this opportunity, whether it's in this training or inside of our Predictable Success Leadership Center community. I want you to think not only about the activities that you could be doing, but think about activities that perhaps you're ready to stop doing, because no is a complete sentence. And when you say yes to all of the things, it makes it really difficult to prioritize your own growth and development and also to support everyone around you. So let's get into it and let's start talking about being a leadership rule breaker and how that A, is that a good idea? B, what does that even look like? And C, if we do choose to break rules, which ones, and how do we know that we're staying inside of our core values, our own personal values, and really the reasons that we're pursuing growth in the first place. So I want to refer you to a recent interview that Predictable Success founder Les McEwen did with David Gardner. It was on the Rule Breaker Investing podcast. That's very apropos. And they talked about leadership, the media, leadership myths, much more. This is a quick plug. I highly recommend listening to this conversation. I found it really fascinating. Two extremely smart thought leaders really looking at this concept of leadership and in action and thinking about what we can learn from, who is serving as a role model, and really how we can kind of ground ourselves in our own approaches to leadership, what works for us and what doesn't. So this conversation, really, really fascinating. It is, again, a deep dive into leadership. And what I found especially interesting as I listened to it for the first time, I've listened to it multiple times, I found it that good. But you know, the two of them talked, there was this whole section that really drew me in. Because Les McEwen, again, founder of Predictable Success, he offered a 2-minute description of what successful leadership looked like. And there were a few quotes that I want to share, both from this podcast and also that I've pulled from his Do Lead Leadership book and some other Predictable Success resources. And so here's the first quote. You have to have a group of senior leaders who have self-awareness and who believe that they can harness the power of leadership throughout the entire organization. So this is the first tenet for successful leadership. You have to have a group of senior leaders. And again, you may or may not currently be in senior leadership, but you are certainly, if not, reporting to senior leaders. So wherever you are in your job process right now, in your career path, this quote applies to you. And I really want you to internalize and think about what this means for you. You have to have a group of senior leaders who have self-awareness, I love that term so much, and who believe that they can harness the power of leadership throughout the entire organization. Okay, what else? Self-awareness allows senior executives to believe that all members of the team can become leaders themselves. Think about that for just a moment. If you are a senior executive and you do not believe that the members of your team have the potential and the opportunity to become leaders themselves, there might be a problem. If you are not yet a senior executive, but you are a member of a team and you feel that your senior executive does not believe that you or other members can become leaders, you have a problem. All problems can be solved. I really believe that getting in front of them and having strong communication and articulating your needs and having these really transparent and sometimes difficult conversations between team members. I know it's hard, but it's incredibly important. And ultimately the outcome is so much more positive. So if you are listening to this now and you're like, wow, I'm not sure that I do believe my team has the potential, or I don't believe I'm working for someone who believes I have the potential, don't panic. Having a conversation about this is really, really helpful. And in the end, it is better to know and act on that knowledge than to be wondering. And the third and final quote I wanted to highlight, at least for now, is this. And I find this to be so inspirational. You can start small or you can start big. You can start early or you can start late. But the only way to truly lead is to start from where you are right now. Where you are right now. What can you choose to do today in this moment to pursue leadership? Small, big, early, late, where you are right now. That's the key. So all of this, when I started to reflect on this topic, it had me wondering, does leadership or the pursuit of leadership, meaning the act of growing into leadership, does it require us to break some rules? Rules that maybe we had nothing to do with creating, rules that maybe have existed for a long time, rules, frankly, that may not even be written. They're just sort of acknowledged or understood, or, they've become myths that have somehow become rules. So I do want to give some context here. In predictable success style speak, I am a processor and I have a smaller operator style mixed in. So for my styles mix underneath the predictable success system, I'm naturally motivated to systematize and to then supervise. So in other words, I really like rules. I really like predictability. I love systems. So I'm a processor. But there are 4 styles inside of the predictable success world, and I'm going to describe them a little bit here. And I am going to tell you, if you are unsure what your particular predictable success style is, there's good news. We have a free assessment. It's really short and it's actually quite fun to fill out. And at the end, you will get instant results. So if you are listening to this and you're like, I see all these words, but I don't know what I am, for right now, I just want you to soak in the ideas that I'm sharing. And I promise you, you will have every opportunity to discover which of these styles or styles mixes you have. So stay put. But for right now, here's what you need to know. Visionaries are motivated to start new things and to solve problems. These are big, bold thinkers. These are world changers. I want to start something new and I want to solve the problem. Let's go. Operators are motivated to finish tasks and fix things. Operators tend to do really well in early stage growth companies alongside a visionary. Processors were motivated to systematize and supervise, as I said. And synergists, they can put aside their own agendas and put the good of the enterprise first. Visionary, operator, processor, synergist, VOPS. So I mentioned that if you do not know your predictable success style and you are unsure of what those terms even mean or how you'd be able to really interpret them for your own world, again, great news. I have a couple of resources that you can access today for free. So number one, I'm really delighted that we have been able to put together a free copy of Do Lead, written by Les McEwen. If you are interested in getting this, it's my.predictablesuccess.com/do-lead-book. I'll share that again at the end. my.predictablesuccess.com/do-lead-book. When you get there, you'll find all of the information you need. The only thing that you'll need to do if you want to get not only a physical copy of the book shipped to your house, you'll actually get a digital book study and workbook that accompanies it. And that is an instant access download. You will have to pay for shipping and handling, and this is for US addresses only, but it's about $8. You get this book, you get this whole package, and then you get to dive into some additional trainings and resources inside the Predictable Success Leadership Center, led by myself and by Les McEwen. And when you are here, you will also have the opportunity to take that assessment that I talked about earlier, so that you can find out what your predictable success style is, and that is completely free. So even if you choose not to take advantage of this offer, you will be able to take the quiz and get your instant results. But I really do hope you consider this. The supplies for this offer are extremely limited. We have actually shipped out almost all of the copies of the book that we have for this free offer. So if you're interested, don't wait. Okay, back to real talk time. I know as a processor, my love for systems, it's not shared by everyone. I have worked with enough visionaries, operators, and synergists to know that my need for systems, replicable processes, lots of reporting and data to kind of take it a little bit slow to get it right, that is not shared by everybody that I have worked with, worked for, or who work for me. And so in order to convince my colleagues and my teammates that my process, the thing that really motivates and drives me, that it's worth their time or their consideration, I'm almost then forced to ask other people to suspend their beliefs about what leadership looks like and honestly feels like. So I'm asking them in many cases to trust the process, a little processor pun, and I'm asking them, hey, I know that you may feel one way about leadership because of your style, because of your approach, your experience. I'm over here and I have a different style, a different approach, a different set of experiences, but that is valid. And I need you to trust that I'm going to bring you opportunities and solutions that are going to elevate the initiative, whatever it is. That's a hard thing to do. The same thing as a processor, I sometimes find it hard when a visionary or an operator asks me to put aside my systems and just go. Now, a lot of times that's the right decision, and what we produce is better than it would have been if I had been allowed to completely systematize the process. And so I have learned that I sometimes have to trust the people around me. And I have to really understand their particular styles of leadership and to know there are certain ways to work with my teammates that really support their styles and their motivations. And there are times that I can perhaps articulate my needs in a way that they will better understand. Because ultimately, we're all trying to get to the same thing. We want to meet or exceed our goals. We want to have some fun doing it. We want it to be predictable success. We want it to be scalable, and we want it to be able to repeat this from one initiative to the next. So again, for me to succeed and to get the support of my other VOPS teammates, I have to break some of these conventions and rules about how things may have been done in the past. And I have to communicate in a way that helps people feel okay with breaking rules of their own or breaking norms of their own. So there's a big trust factor here, and sometimes that has to be developed over time. And again, what I will tell you is that working inside of the predictable success model and really understanding these leadership styles, it has made me a more empathetic team member. Whether I am leading someone or I am being led by someone, it makes me a lot more empathetic to their needs and even the way that I speak those needs or those steps. And so there's no downside. Let's put it this way. There's no downside to exploring your leadership styles, to understanding the styles of those around you, and then deciding what rules can I break that will actually benefit everybody. And those perspectives are so, so helpful. So I mentioned do lead, and of course your opportunity to get a free copy of this book. So if you have this, you may already be familiar with this passage, or you may want to reread it. If not, go ahead and grab that copy. It's a quick, insightful read that I think you will go back to over and over. My copy is dog-eared and messy because I go back to it so often. But I want to pull out just a few pieces that I think are particularly relevant for this question about rule breaking in leadership. So again, leading from within. It requires two things. to work. Number one, you have to have a meaningful contribution to make. It sounds really obvious, but as we're all working hard and trying to make a mark and trying to break through, sometimes, and I have done this too, sometimes we are so interested in becoming a leader or being recognized as a leader that we don't actually have a great thesis to start from. So if you have to have a meaningful contribution, not just a contribution, a meaningful contribution. There's a reason Les included that word. And the second thing is that your contribution has to be made in a natural, unforced manner. It has to flow seamlessly with the ongoing discussion that the team is having. And it has to come from a place of authority within you. Now, I want to just take a pause because there's more to this passage that we're going to dive into, but I want to take a pause and remind you what Les said earlier. In fact, let me go back to that slide real quick. You can start small or you can start big. You can start early or you can start late. The only way to truly lead is to start from where you are right now. There is nothing in that sentence that says when you are a senior vice president, when you are in the C-suite, when you are the most senior executive on your team, then you can start to lead. No, start to lead from where you are right now. Whatever level, whatever stage of your leadership you are in, you have a place of authority. And if you have this meaningful contribution and you have the authority, all you have to do is you have to pick your time. It is not going to be effective for you to be in a meeting about initiative A and all of a sudden try to steer it toward initiative B, or bring in something that is going to make it really hard for your team to rally around it and say yes. So natural, unforced manner, it has to flow seamlessly with the ongoing discussion. Those are the requirements. And here's another thing to know from Do Lead and from Les McEwen's teachings throughout the Predictable Success community. Transformational leaders most often achieve transformation, not by knowing a lot or personally creating something entirely new, or even by doing something heroic and grand. Isn't that such a relief? Transformational leaders aren't always doing the big, grand, heroic thing, because the heart of transformational leadership is funneling consistency of purpose to add value to the work of others. We can all, any of us, you, me, we can all, any of us, lead at any time. And in fact, more of us should. Right? I love that. It lights a fire in me, and I hope it lights a fire in you. And so as you're considering this topic today, your own pursuit of leadership, where you are, what you want to do, what you want to stop doing, what rules have possibly been put upon you, or what rules you inherited, or what rules maybe you even set for yourself. I want you to think about which of those rules you can break and which are really designed to help you and to hold boundaries and to keep you in the right direction while being empathetic to the styles and the mix of styles of everyone around you. So earlier I talked about Do Lead book. I mentioned that there's a free assessment. Let's talk about that a little bit more here, because again, this is 100% free. And if you are at all interested in this topic, if you are interested in learning more about yourself, your own skills and opportunities, and even the challenges and weaknesses that your style has, you can take this assessment. If you're interested in getting to know these styles and the styles mix of everyone around you so that you can, once again, be a more empathetic, understanding, and effective leader where you are starting today, you can take this quiz and you can ask everyone around you to take the quiz as well. So when you go to my.predictablesuccess.com/quiz, you will find the opportunity to start this assessment. It's very short. You'll go through some questions and you will get instant results. When you do that, you will also get an invitation to join the free Predictable Success Leadership Center community, which is led by me. I'm the community manager, and I would be so thrilled to continue these conversations with you. We have daily prompts inside of our community center activity. We have special networking groups. We have ongoing resources and trainings, much like this one. We have special downloads and lots of opportunities to learn from each other and learn about ourselves. And again, my.predictablesuccess.com/quiz is where all of that happens. You can see on screen, I've put, once again, just a little snippet of what each type is. And if you are looking at this and you think, maybe I'm a visionary, but there are some things from the operator or the processor styles that speak to me, Let's find out. When you take this quiz again, you'll find out what your style is, but you'll also understand where you fall on different scores of each of these styles. And that mix is really helpful. As I shared earlier, I am a pretty dominant processor, but I have an operator, almost like a wing, like a side part of me is kind of clawing that operator mindset is coming into my processor style, and understanding that about myself and understanding where I can really lean into the gifts and the strengths has really transformed my own leadership. And I'd love to be able to support and cheer you on as well. So once again, it's my.predictablesuccess.com/quiz. I want to thank you so much for taking some time with me today. I want to remind you one final thing. If this training has inspired you or motivated you or caused you to think, there's lots more of that where that comes from. So continue to follow along and join me in the community. But there's something I want you to hear, because I'm constantly reminding myself of this. We can only control what we can control. And today, like every other day, the most critical piece of the journey of leadership, of growth, of serving our organizations and serving ourselves and our community, most critical piece is actually showing up and doing the hard work. You have to trust the process, but don't miss opportunities to learn and grow and change from within. I want to thank you once again for joining me. My name is Katie Widrick. I'm the community manager of the Predictable Success Leadership Center, and I look forward to seeing you on our next training.